want to be with, right? But again, you only get there with enough time, right? You spending enough time with them. And sometimes you'll find by the third date that this is somebody that you really don't have a lot in common with. And by that point,
Mhm.
again, it depends on what you're looking for, right? If it's a short-term thing where you're just trying to have a good time, as long as you both are clear about that, great, enjoy yourselves. But if she wants something long-term and you don't,
What the is we doing?
all right, welcome back, everybody. Back again after another long break, as usual now. We like taking our breaks, kind of getting some life experience, coming back, talking about it. Um, so today's topic, we're going to be discussing marriage and relationships. We've discussed this in the past before, but now new perspective, right? Recently married. We
Ooh.
can add an applause button there. Yeah. Um, so now I'm married at this stage of my life. It wasn't something, you know, dramatic. It wasn't a big show. It was pretty spontaneous, but it was something that was already in motion and developing for a long time. Just the way we went about it was pretty quick. It wasn't anything too, again, overly dramatic in terms of creating a big party and anything like that. That'll come later on. Right now, I don't have the necessary qualifications to go through the church the way I wanted to do it. Uh, but it was a good time to kind of just go to the next step in our relationship, which was to get married and maybe eventually do that through the church. And then obviously maybe a family down the road in the coming years. But yeah, that's where we're at, and I'll let you take it from here. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, congratulations, my boy. I already said it in the past, but unfortunately, I was not able to be there by your side. I feel hurt. No, just kidding. But no, I know the big wedding is coming up soon, and I will be there for sure. And yeah, I think I don't know, we different life kind of like spectrums when it comes to a relationship since I'm single and you're already married. And I think that has been most of the cases in since we known. I feel like you're more the relationship type of guy, and I'm more kind of like for flings and stuff. Like, what do you think is that? Is that something that you wanted? I feel like in the past we talk about this. That's something that
Mhm.
you wanted for your life more than me. Kind of like personality wise, I think too. Like you're more kind of like grounded, you know, whereas I am where me, I feel like I'm more free. Like I don't know, I don't see myself establishing. And even if I establish with somebody in that relationship, it has to be somebody like up to who's down to like traveling and moving around and changing things, you know. I think that counts a little bit for perspective or lifestyles in what we want, honestly. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you mentioned something about like me being a little bit more grounded. I would say stable. Like I like stability. I
Mhm.
don't like. It's not that I mean, some people can perceive it as being boring, and that's fair. Um, but I like to keep things relatively chill. I don't like doing crazy things. Um, I don't like inviting chaos into my life. I think that's a good way of saying it. And chaos isn't necessarily a negative thing, right? It's just introducing unpredictable variables into your life that you have absolutely no control over. I
Mhm.
would prefer to try and put myself in a position where I do have some sort of control, just because that gives me a sense of peace. And that's what I like to do. Kind of just depends on where you grow up and how you grow up. That's kind of where I'm coming from. Again, you're coming from the opposite end of the spectrum. That's why we mesh so well, right? The dichotomy of how we go about life kind of gives us perspectives in different ways, and we can come together, reflect, and kind of give each other different perspectives, right? That's what makes life interesting. And I think that's kind of what ended up happening in this sense, right? So somebody that likes stability and being in a committed relationship kind of gives you that. Not always, right? And there could always be problems. There's no thing in life that's perfect. especially relationships, right? Because you're taking two different people, and hopefully they have a lot of similarities. Sometimes they don't, and you're making them become one, in the sense of just what the life path moving forward is going to be like, right? Do you guys share similar interests? Do you guys want to build a family? Do you guys share similar religions? Right? There's a lot of variables that play a role here. Fortunately enough for me, I partnered with somebody that I think is a good match. We kind of have a very similar outlook on life. We have similar perspectives in terms of what we want the future to look like. So, it was kind of a good partnership, and we match each other very well in terms of energy. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know.
Right. So you mentioned a few things there about having similarities, like similar interests, religion, and all that. But I feel like for me personally, when it comes to like finding a partner, finding a wife at least, kind of like that's where I am also. Like I'm not dating just to for what do you call that? For flings or just like for short.
Short term.
Yeah, I think at the stage of my life, I am starting to date for the long term. So if I go a couple dates with this girl and we don't match that energy, but for me, I feel like it's more values, more than values and energy. I think that kind of like matters a lot to see like in a potential wife for me. But when it comes to interest, of course, that's kind of like secondary. Like if we like to go to like hikes or we like to go, travels, those are important things that you can kind of like compromise with each other. Maybe she likes to do something that I don't truly like really enjoy doing it. But because I like her, I probably want to give it a try. Probably want to see her perspective and give it a try because you're never going to find like your perfect match anyways. So for me, it's a matter of values. Like if if she has similar or good values as well as like the energy and the chemistry that we have, like outside and inside in bed as well. So I think those things are important to me. Now, what are your thoughts about like dating somebody outside from different religions? Because I know that's not your case, but we both have in the past that we dated girls from different religions. And in my case, it never came down to like marriage talk, but I think it can get a little bit complicated down the road if we were to end up doing that. I mean, if I were ended up doing it because I like to travel, so probably I will meet my future partner traveling in different corner of the world. So, what do you
Yeah.
thought?
I gotta stop saying a lot.
Yeah.
Keep starting and ending a sentence like that. So, thinking from that perspective, right? It's interesting. Again, we've dated people outside of our culture, right? Because it doesn't necessarily have to be the religion, right? Maybe you guys have a similar religion, but you're completely different cultures. Maybe you're a little bit more relaxed with your religion, and the other person is a little bit more devout, and you guys can only have a relationship if you guys get married. Like that's a situation that I came across actually. Even though we're again from similar background, I wasn't necessarily super devout, and the family my partner was coming from was. And one of the things that they wanted was marriage before we did anything, really. And that was a compromise that we had to come across, right? I felt that relationship was too early on for us to make that kind of commitment. And, her family was coming from a different perspective. She felt similar to me. And that's why ultimately we ended up, compromising on not getting married early on and seeing how that relationship played out. But that can be a similar story to other types of relationships with, different religions. Like it's difficult to know how things are going to play out, but as long as you guys have a similar vision, the intention behind what it is you guys are trying to do is the same, right? Are you guys in it to have a long-term relationships? Do you like being with each other? Do you like spending time with each other? Are you guys just playing the short-term relationship game, right? Like you guys are just trying to, you know, have a good time for a short time, right? We're only here for a good time, not a long time, as they say. So again, being clear about that initially is going to be critical because from there you can start navigating that relationship regardless of where you guys are coming from, in terms of religion, in terms of culture and all that, and you guys can pursue it in a very clear way. You have the parameter set. This is what we're doing, and we're doing it for X and Y and Z reason, and everybody's cool with that, right?
Mhm.
The problems in a relationship usually start when both of the two sides in the relationship have completely different ideas of what they want and how this relationship is going to go forward, right? One person might want something a little bit more short term. The other person wants something a little bit more long term. Boom. Now you have a lot of problems.
Right. And I believe we talk or spoke about this in the past. Um, Intention. I think it all comes down to that simple word that you probably have more experience. But I have come across on that a bit this past month at least when I'm kind
Hmm.
of just dating. And it is important to just go about the intention that you have with the relationship with the girl that you're seeking. For me, I put my intention like later on once I get to know the girl a bit. Like I come across, you know, somebody who wants for the long term. But if the girl, like after the second or third date, I don't see any potential or any like future ahead of us with her, I usually tell her straight up, like, since I'm just dating now, like this is what I want from you. Are you cool with that? Or we can just finish things here. Or, if you're cool with that until I find the right partner. It sounds fucked up in my head now, but uh
No, no,
yeah,
it's fair.
that's honestly how I go about now. But what are your thoughts about intention? Which I think
Yeah,
with
yeah.
it comes.
Again, that is everything when it comes to dating.
Mhm.
Again, short term, long term, medium term, whatever it is. As long as you're clear about the intention behind what you are doing with this other person, everything will kind of be clear, right? If you're not, then things will always be rocky. You will always invite drama and you will always invite problems into the relationship simply because you have absolutely no idea where it is that you want this thing to go.
Mhm.
Um, Again, one thing that we talked about in the past is, having that intention for the long term, but not necessarily coming out with that on the first date, right? Like that's something that can be a little bit too much. That can be perceived as possibly needy, right? You're going out of your way to show that you are like the perfect person to be in a long term relationship with. Again, within the first 6 months of you dating somebody, people can deceive you. And not that they do it intentionally, it's just a matter of they're going to put their best foot forward. And what you really want to see is what they're like in their day to day when they don't have to show you anything, right? When they're just living, right? That's when you get to see if this person is truly who you want to be with, right? But again, you only get there with enough time, right? You spending enough time with them. And sometimes you'll find by the third date that this is somebody that you really don't have a lot in common with. And by that point,
Mhm.
again, it depends on what you're looking for, right? If it's a short term thing where you're just trying to have a good time, as long as you both are clear about that, great, enjoy yourselves. But if she wants something long term and you only want something short term, right? That's not going to match up. And hypothetically speaking, let's say you do have a good time, um, that might not end well, and you might end up in a situation where you have somebody that really resents you, right? And again, we've talked about it in the past about karma, right? Like that comes back to bite you,
Yep.
right? Not being honest, not being truthful, and not to the sense where you are putting yourself in a compromising position, right? You don't always have to show your hand, but when it comes to intimate relationships and things that require you to be a little bit more vulnerable, those are things where you do want to be honest, just because again, I go back to intention and karma. These things come back in some shape or form. It might not be today or tomorrow, but at some point in life, things will come back to you. And if you don't go out of your way to be honest and truthful and be a good person, or as good as you can be, right? Um, you'll see that life will treat you just the same. So,
Yep. Also, another thing, something that someone mentioned is that this is not only a guy thing that, can tell if a girl is a potential wife in the future, but also girls do this with guys. They put them in the basket and be like, okay, so this guy is just for the short term, but not for the long term as well. So it's always that dynamic between, female and masculine. So, we both do it. At the end of the day, I think when we are dating, we are looking for the best match to potentially build a family at the end of the day. So, we want the best. So at least we want, or we are clear what's best for us. I think that's kind of like the best word to kind of explain it. Now, there comes the hard question then. Is love enough? Like, you can love somebody so much, but you realize that is not the best person to build a family with. So, there was this quote that I read. It's that there's a big difference between the love of your life. No, wait, forget about it. But it's something about like there is a good love and there is a great love. Like the great love, it can be like somebody who you had a story, like the most passionate love story that there can be. But it's not so it's great in the sense that it's passionate, there is the chemistry, but there's also the other side of the coin that there's a lot of drama on it. There is not a lot of match when it comes to like values and stuff. That's a great love. But then there is a good love that actually you see yourself building with, it treats you right, helps you to build yourself, maybe, or it complements you, kind of like that. That's kind of like the main difference between. I think that was correct from what I read. But anyways, what do you
Sounds
think?
about right.
Sounds about right. Yeah. So, is love enough?
Yeah. Again, being in a relationship as long as I have at this point, which again, for some people it might not be that long, but for me it's been pretty long. Love is not enough. Love, again, that's something. So we've talked about this concept before as well, like genuine desire, right? Like having this genuine passion for someone and just not loving them unconditionally, but just having the sense of like urgency in terms of this passion that you have for someone, right? That's important. I would say love is another pillar, right? Being able to, I wouldn't say stand somebody through the hard times, or like, they do things that you don't like, but being able to compromise, right? That's another big thing when it comes to a relationship. You need to be willing, and you should be in a relationship with somebody that you actually want to compromise with, right? It shouldn't be like you need to compromise and you really don't want to, and you really don't like this person that much. Then that's just going to fall apart, right? So we have genuine desire. You have to be able to compromise. Respect is another big one, right? If you're in a relationship where somebody doesn't respect you, doesn't respect your boundaries, doesn't respect the things that you like, the things that you want to do with your life,
Who you are.
ultimately and who you are, right? You're going to set yourself up for disappointment and a very bitter light. Because again, who you are is who you are. And if you're with somebody that doesn't accept that or doesn't appreciate it, then what are you doing? You're just making yourself miserable to please someone else that you don't really like. That sucks. So yeah, respect, genuine desire, be able to, again, have compromise in the sense of like, again, I don't want you to think that you need to always put yourself down in order to make somebody or lift somebody up, but it's more a matter of like, I'm with this person for the long term, so I'm going to make some sacrifices here and there, as well as they will as well, right? They need to make sacrifices for the things that I want to do. And yeah, I think that's kind of like at least in my head, how I've gone about my relationships. Those are the things that are kind of always playing a role, not always all at once. But I would say that love isn't necessarily the only thing that plays a role in it, right? Again, this is a partnership. You can even think of it as a business partnership, right? You need to have ground rules, and you need to be able to follow them and respect each other for the long term.
What about sacrifice?
So that's where compromising comes in, right? So I would say, but sacrifice in what sense?
But I feel like compromise and sacrifices are not kind of like the same or kind of like synonyms to each other. When I think about compromise is, let's say you meet me at the middle. So there's a spectrum. Compromise is meeting me at the middle. Whereas sacrifice is I sacrifice completely, or I give up completely. That's for me. That's
Gotcha.
one of the terms. So, okay. So just coming up from my previous relationships, sacrifice for me was like one thing that it used to annoy me, like in the past from other person, or probably annoys me at
Mhm.
that when I'm with that person, when I'm in that relationship with her, or like with at the moment, it annoys me from everybody else, but for some reason I'm willing to sacrifice with her. So little things, it can be like snoring. You know, I snore a lot, so when I used to sleep with her, she wouldn't mind it. She would sacrifice that, you know, kind of like accept that. That kind of also that goes with like who I am. But anyways, something that it used to annoy me from everybody else is that kind of like complaining things, but for some reason I wouldn't mind if it was her. That type of sacrifice, that you do, that you accept things that you used to know, it may be like petty things, but at the end of the day you don't mind it. But then there's other things that you really annoys you. Like for example, I'm very organized. So, and that person was a little bit unorganized. So I would like try to compromise in the middle. Like you don't have to be like neat and clean every single time, but like at least try. At least that's kind of like compromise, What
Good
is
luck with that, bro.
uh,
Good luck with that.
are you see you
I've
probably
dealt with similar. Yeah, it's
so
impossible.
you probably
Too many clothes. That's the problem. Too many clothes.
see that's a sacrifice that you did. Like now you just laugh about it. Like it's not something that annoyed
It
you.
is what it is, man.
Exactly. So that's
Uh,
for me at least.
yeah, no, that I would say that there are probably times where I do have to sacrifice, or the person that I'm with has to sacrifice, something that they enjoy, or at least peace of mind for something that I like, and vice versa. Um, but it doesn't come from a point where I feel this sense of annoyance or just dread or just this resentment. Because again, it's only a short term thing. It's not going to be something long term. And ultimately, it's not taking away from the relationship in any way that's meaningful or significant, right? If I start sacrificing myself to a point where like it's starting to drain on me and I can't really perform well in my life and my work and the things that I like to do, then that's a problem, right? That's a no-go, and that's crossing lines and boundaries that I should have set initially. And if I did set them, I'm not enforcing them. So you're being walked all over, and then you're considered to be a pushover, right? And then that's not really attractive, and that's not something that's going to be good for the long term. Yeah, sacrifice is something that might be a part of the relationship. I would say more compromising than anything else.
Mhm.
I never find myself in a position where I feel like I have to do something that I hate to appease somebody, or have to do something that just is completely out of my nature, out of my character, just to appease someone. But
Well, I
again,
give
that might be
I give
right.
you an example because like it's not sacrificing is not giving like for your own happiness. Like I feel like now the at least from what the relationships that I have seen, kind of like successful relationships that I have seen from a family, is
Mhm.
usually comes down to weekends, let's say, where to spend, or like holidays, where to spend time with which family. So like, let's
Yeah,
say I used to spending most of my holidays with my family since I'm single, and I truly enjoyed that. That's something that I truly enjoy. So let's say I have seen my uncles and aunts that they're from different countries as well. They alternate like 1 year with your family, or next
hmm
year with other family, or let's say Thanksgiving with your family and Christmas with your family, and so on for, and New Year's somewhere else. So that type of sacrifice that I'm speaking, but I think you're right. That kind of sounds more like compromising rather than
yeah.
sacrifice. I might be confusing things a little bit off, but yeah, I think compromise is a huge thing when it comes to relationships.
And
But
again, it should be stressed that it's not coming from a place where like you are becoming less in order to make somebody more. Again, ultimately, when you're in a relationship, you're two full people coming together as one.
correct.
And sometimes you have to give a little bit in one direction in order to keep things balanced. Sometimes you have to give up more in the other direction, again, to keep things balanced. Again, ultimately, we are trying to maintain equilibrium in the relationship, and there's ebbs and flows to that, right? It's not going to always be a straight line, right? Sometimes you might go up, sometimes you might go down, but you're doing it together. And through that, you guys get better, you get more comfortable, you are able to overcome more challenges, and over time, with enough time, you guys will be together long enough that you will see a lot of different things together. And that's what a relationship is all about.
All right. There is another question, a burning question that I have seen, or probably seen and also experienced on my past. How do you keep drama alive within the relationship? Because that's a huge thing. Keeping things interesting.
Yeah, there you go. It's not drama, it's just keeping it interesting. That's, again, for me, I'm a stable guy. You know what I'm saying, man? I like being chill. I don't like doing a lot of crazy shit.
I will have
so drama. Say again?
I will have a lot of issues with that.
Hey, man. That's why we're not in a relationship, right? We're friends.
No, I'm saying
right, so
I'm like the opposite to you. So like,
yeah, no.
My compliment is usually going to be somebody who is like grounded and peaceful. But I'm the other side of
So
the
you
coin.
need to find the female version of me.
Probably.
I
No,
got you.
because your partner has a lot of similarities than me. So you found somebody like me first. That's funny.
Yeah, so I'm saying you need to find somebody that's like me.
Okay,
Again, it's just right. So I don't know what would be a good way to. Can you ask the question again? Let me take it from there.
How do you keep things interesting in the relationship?
Okay.
Especially
How do you keep things interesting?
Drama.
Drama. So again, I'm somebody that likes keeping things relatively chill. So drama is not something that I go out of my way to seek. But again, we've had a discussion about this in the sense of what's called dread, right? Creating this passive form of, I guess, positive. What's the word I'm looking for here? Damn, it's right on the tip of my tongue. I forgot it. When you make somebody, oh, there you go. Positive jealousy. That's what I was kind of looking for. So again, as an individual, you need to make sure that even though you're in a relationship and you guys are in a partnership, you do have a sense of individuality. It's not that, now you guys are together, so you guys just do everything together. That's another thing that would absolutely destroy a relationship. You get bored very fast because if you guys have literally nothing that makes you different, or you don't want to date yourself. Hence why I'm not dating somebody that's like me, and you're not dating somebody that's like you. I would be bored and you would be going crazy. Like that doesn't work. So to find that balance in order to keep things interesting, again, you need to figure out who you are as an individual and double down on that and pursue excellence in the things that you do. Again, for me, career, that's something super important to me. Vision of what I want to do with my future, that's another thing. And then am I doing things in the day-to-day to help support them, right? And if I'm not, what can I be doing? What activities, what things can I implement into my lifestyle that's going to make me a better version of myself that will help me get to where I want to be? Because that vision of who you want to become will inspire you to be better. And as you're becoming better, it keeps things interesting, right? At least in the dynamic between men and women and just how relationships work, creating that positive jealousy because you're somebody who's trying to be better, you might attract other potential partners. And again, you're in a relationship, so you're not going to cheat and you're not going to break that relationship. But if there's this sense of like there's an opportunity for that to happen in a world where that relationship you're in kind of breaks up, this creates this internal drive that I need to do more in order to maintain this relationship, right? I need to be better. Like this is the partner in your relationship. And vice versa, right? Like your partner should be doing something similar in order to instill that positive jealousy within you so that you do better, right? So you guys continue to do whatever it is that you like doing, right? So maybe that's going out on dates, or maybe that's going to the gym and, staying healthy. Again, you should find activities that you can do together as well, and also activities that you can do apart, right? Because when you do activities that you can do together and maybe with other people, your partner will start getting those indicators of interest from other people that's within the vicinity, right? Again, if you are being the best version of yourself without, accepting that feedback and then entertaining it, right? You should
Without,
never be
without
entertaining.
I think if you don't act on it, then it's not considered cheating. It's not cheating.
Exactly, right? It's just like, hey, that's life, man. Like the things are kind of just happening. I'm just the kind of person that attracts that. You got yourself with a winner, right? So that's kind of what starts getting the gears turning in both sexes, that, hey, I'm with somebody that's the best, and maybe I have to do a little bit more in order to maintain that. And that's kind of how you keep the drama alive. It's not, you don't need to go out of your way to start texting somebody and then letting her see that you're texting someone, or that you're getting text from somebody else, or vice versa. Or you don't need to be posting provocative pictures online and getting attention from people. That's not positive. That's very negative, and that's not creating the sense of, like, this doesn't feel like this is a relationship between you and me. This is a relationship between you, me, and whoever else you want to invite into this relationship. And again, if that's a discussion about having an open relationship, that's fine. But when you guys are in a closed relationship, just you and the other person, that's something that's not cool. So
That kind of
yeah.
triggers a question as well, on social media. Because for me, social media, I feel like is the biggest dating app there is, you know. So how do you feel about that? Keep everything private, close friends. What if
Yeah.
what if she's Instagram famous and that's her
Well then.
I think that's something that you accept. Maybe that's a topic for a different time since we're running out of time. Just picking back from what you mentioned, I completely agree with you. I feel like before you even start dating, you should kind of have the sense of individuality and, do things that you truly enjoy, and not kind of like jump into relationship and then forget about those things. Like the gym, that's a huge thing that I see a lot of people falling off to. So like, to keep things interesting, you keep doing the things that better yourself, healthy, fit, and that eventually attracts other candidates, but you just don't act on it. You just like completely block them off, and that just shows respect, as well as kind of like, okay, so like, I'm with you and I'm committed to you, so don't act
And
on it.
there's one more thing that I want that adds to that. It's a level of confidence in yourself, right? Like, hey, if this relationship doesn't work out, I have this confidence. You have this swagger, like, that's fine. I have options, right? Options create this sense of confidence in who you are and what you can attract. And
Right.
from there, you have this sense of pride in who you are.
I think also confidence comes when you can walk out of relationship anytime that you want, that you see this is not working for us. We tried it. Of course, I feel like you shouldn't give up like right away when things are kind of getting complicated. But if we already tried A, B, and probably C, then I'm done. I can just walk out and, I will be fine. And that kind of goes to the third point that we talk. If you recall, while we were in college, we established those 3 points about that partner that we look, or the three qualities that we look for in a partner, which was respect, that we spoke about today. Genuine desire, we'll also talk about, is more important than love. And then ambition. So if you keep your ambitions alive and you keep working towards those, like in both parties, then you should work out because you complement it. You both together, but also building two different goals at the same time. And then of course you do one like a goal of your own. That too, that's also important. But yeah, any last words? We have a minute.
No, that's pretty much it. I think we hit all the points. That's kind of the basics of relationships. again, we are still pretty early in life, so we're just kind of taking it by ear. But you're getting two different perspectives, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But ultimately, again, the choice is yours. We're just kind of speaking about our experiences, kind of take it with a grain of salt, see what works, see what doesn't work, and kind of go from there.
So one thing, I feel like we both very logical. I don't think we lean on our emotions. It would be really nice to see or hear a perspective from somebody who is guided by their emotions, because I think that's a whole different perspective. I don't know. I feel I'm very logical when it comes to like dating, and I think so.
Well, again, it's two guys that are coming from a background of, computer science, engineering, science in my department. Like, that's just kind of par for the course. That's who we are. If you want somebody that's a little bit more emotional, then you're probably gonna have to find somebody that's a little bit more creative, right? So somebody that's more into the arts. Again, that's not to say that, if you are into arts, you're a very emotional person. I'm
What do
just
you
saying
say,
you
bro?
express yourself a little bit more. So somebody that's into like film, right, that just goes through expressing the full human range of motion.
We gotta go.
So maybe if we can find something like that.
True. All right, man. This is a conversation between friends.
None of what is said here should be taken as legal advice.
We are not experts in any way.
Take what resonates and leave the rest.